You're not patient. And that's why your success isn't already here. Now, what I want to talk about is exactly why your life, your success, your wealth isn't here, why your business hasn't taken off. Like, we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to give a story. Zig Ziglar, great guy. Like, this man is a well-known speaker. Big crazy thing about him is just that he's like this very charmed gentleman, right? But this man knows a lot, and he really knows how to speak, and he's very intelligent but very intuitive. He like stretches your mind, and if you're used to being here, you know that that's what we love to do. If you're not used to being here, well, guess what? Stay around. You're going to learn a lot about leadership, about building yourself, building upon your own successes, and becoming that ultimate version and form of yourself for the future. Like, I'm going to give you actionable steps today to figure out exactly how to get your business taken off from the ground. But more importantly, I'm going to talk about Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar, great guy. He goes to the airport, right? He has a flight. It doesn't matter. He's in Dallas, and his flight is supposed to be leaving at, 4 p.m. to New York. Right. And he gives this story in one of his speeches, and I would definitely encourage you guys to actually go out and find this story. I'll make sure I link in it below. It's a really great story. And if you've been here long enough, you see that I also am pretty mind-bending. But his story was a little bit different than what I'm going to explain about his story. And so Zig Ziglar teaches patience and learn how to actually develop a sense of patience and calmness, a really great attitude. And so while he's at the airport, he walks up to the flight attendant lady that actually sits at the entrance, and he says, "Hey, where's my flight? Where's my flight?" And I see that it says that it's delayed. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, sir. Sorry, that flight right now is delayed. It's not going to be leaving until 6:05. And he says, "Well, that's just fantastic." And she's, "Maybe you didn't hear me, sir." And I'm going to say, I'm paraphrasing. "Maybe you didn't hear me, sir, but it's delayed. And the flight won't be leaving until 6:05. He said, "Oh, no, I heard you loud and clear." And she's like, "Well, that's weird. Why are you so cheery and happy about it?" He says, "Well, what would you want? Would you prefer that I go bananas and, oh my God, you need to get me on that flight right now. I got friends and family and business to do up there." But what's the point of doing that when the flight still leaves at 6:05? He said, "Or what would you want me to, give me your manager. There's no way that my flight isn't here. I have things I need to do. I pay for this flight and cause you all that anguish and stress. Look, the flight still leaves at 6:05. Right? Or would you rather me boo-hoo and cry and feel bad for myself and, oh God, I'm not going to make it?" No, because once again, the flight still leaves at 6:05. Right. And an amazing lesson from this is just that he already immediately is prepared for anything that happened. Right. And a lot of times we're not necessarily prepared for those obstacles that's going to come in our way during our journey. Right. But he's already aware of anything, and his attitude is already prepared for, well, there's nothing I can do. And she says, "Well, that's just very weird, sir. Tons of people, they come here and I tell them that their flight is delayed or canceled and they're doing all these different things and it's whatever." He said, "Well, look, there's 3 reasons why that plane is not going to take off." Right. Either something wrong with the environment, right? The weather. There's something wrong with the pilot, the man who's flying, the person who's flying the plane, or there's something wrong with the plane itself. And the safest place for me in this moment is right here inside this airport. So it's fine because the flight's going to leave at 6:05. Now, obviously, that's a really great story on how to start to really build on your attitude. And that, I'm going to tell you, is a skill that you want to develop. However, what's even more important to me that I got out of that is, well, why isn't your success taking off? Right? Why hasn't your business taken off? Why hasn't that relationship that you are trying to get in or are in, that marriage, that early marriage, hasn't taken off? Right? Why isn't that you haven't developed personally? Like you're putting yourself through all these different things to develop yourself, but still the quality of life hasn't taken off. Like, why are you not being successful and getting to that destination? One, and two, why haven't you taken off? 3 reasons. There's something wrong with the weather in your life. There's something wrong with the pilot in your life. Or there's something wrong with the plane in your life. Now, a lot of us, we lack patience, especially when it's something that we're actually so passionate about and we want to build on and grow. And we're putting so much time and effort, and depending on the types of things you're doing, money and faith into all these things, that we want to see this immediate return. And trust me, you're going to get there. But you have to remember that there is a journey to get to that return. There's a journey that is ultimately extremely necessary. There's a reason why us humans can't just teleport anywhere we want to teleport, because there is a journey. Right? And on that journey, we never know how the journey is going to look. You never know. Zig Ziglar never would have known what the journey from his home to New York would look like. But one thing that ended up happening is his flight was delayed. Now, in your life, as you take that journey from where you currently are to where you're going to be, like, the destination will always be achieved. You will always get to your destination at some point. Now, I mean, theoretically, right? Like, let's just say in this case, like, maybe he just never got to New York. He can figure out other ways, right? And maybe he just gave up on getting to that destination, which, I'll be real, how many times in our lives have we given up on getting to that destination? Right? But the journey, anything could have happened between him leaving his home and getting to New York. He could leave his home, get into a car wreck, thank God, right? Maybe he gets stopped by the cops and something happens on just driving there, right? Let's say he gets to the airport and the flight isn't delayed, but he gets on the flight, and then all of a sudden now there's a delay while he's on the flight and they can't actually even leave the plane, right? Let's say there's crazy amounts of turbulence. There are so many different obstacles that are going to come in between between leaving his home and getting to his next destination. But I can promise you, he knows that he's going to get to his destination. And if you know for a fact that at some point, even if it's not on your own time that you decided, that you chose, that you're going to get to your destination, well, that journey is all worth it. All the obstacles that's in the way is all worth it. But you tell me, would you want your flight to leave if there was minimal gas in the airplane? Not enough to get you from Dallas, Texas to New York? Would you want your flight to leave if the pilot was sick? Would you want your flight to leave if the weather was so bad and it was raining and sleeting, tornadoes and hurricanes? Would you want it to? Even though you want to get to the magic, to that destination as soon as possible, would you still want that to actually happen? Would you want for your flight to actually take off? And so the reason why I say that is because a lot of times in our lives, we do all these things and we're so impatient, or we want to get that return, or we want to get to that destination so quickly that we're willing to let the flight leave before that flight is ready. The safest place you can be whenever that flight is not ready is right where you're already comfortable. And not saying that you shouldn't leave your comfort zone, because you should definitely leave your comfort zone, but be smart about it. And that's one big thing we're going to talk about today is how do you get the chance to actually build that patience, that resilience, but most importantly, that understanding for when should that success actually start to take off. And so firstly, in your life, let's say you're a business owner, right? You've been putting time into your business. You've been putting effort, energy, investing your money into your business and investing into the people that's going to help you run your business in that system, right? But let's just say that it's grand opening day of this restaurant that you've started, and not everything's ready, right? Maybe you have employees that are sick. Maybe you have employees that are not trained, right? The environment and the pilot of that business is not ready yet, right? You and your system that's actually going to take care of that business is not ready yet. They're sick, or they're not able to show up to work, or they're not well trained enough to actually run this business. Would you want to actually open that day on grand opening? Probably not. Why did you rush there? What are you rushing to? Failure? The chance for failure? You would much rather that pilot take care of everything they need to take care of before that flight leaves. So why aren't you giving yourself the same opportunity? Let's just say that you're trying to develop yourself and build yourself professionally and personally, so much so that you decide to actually start reading books. You decide to start learning different trades, right? Except all of the people that are around you are still negative or still holding you back. They give you a lot of that negative talk that, well, why don't you just stay here where it's comfortable? Don't go off to college. Don't go start your own career. Stop. You don't need to go and hang out with these people. Just hang out with us, right? The environment that you're in, the storm that you're literally inside is not allowing you to take off, right? It's difficult to change the weather. Like you cannot change the weather at all, especially with your flight. You can't change the weather. You can wait until the weather is gone, or you can just change your environment, right? Change your environment, wait till the weather's gone, or find a different flight to leave out of. Find a different area to leave out of. Find a different area to leave out of, or wait. Now that's up to you. What you do. Would you rather wait until the people in that environment around you changes? Would you rather just make the change yourself so that way you can control that? Now that's up to you. That just depends on your own journey, right? But would you want to try and take off where you don't have a support and where the environment is negative for you? That's hard. When we're trying to develop ourselves personally, but all the people around us want to keep us down. But all the situations around us, right? You cannot control the weather. Let's just say that the universe is throwing adversity after you. And it's just weighing you down so that way you can't actually leave. Yes, you should try and break through it, but you can't change it. You can try and prevent it as much as possible, but you can't change that weather. Wait until the storm has passed, wait until the adversity has passed, or put yourself in a different situation. How do I put myself in a different situation? Charming when it's already happening. Prevent it. Remember, if you have not watched last week's podcast, make sure you check it out, where I actually talked about how do you take control of your life instead of life taking control of you. Prevent it ahead of time. Let's just say that in this current situation, you are trying to leave your job because your job isn't paying you enough, and the people around you, they might be great, right? You know that there's more out there for you, right? The environment is fine. There's supportive people that are around you that know that you can do more. The pilot, you're trained, you're ready for that next adventure. But what about the plane itself? right? Do you have enough money to just leave this career? Do you have enough safety? Do you have enough protection to leave this career to go and find another one? Maybe you should park and stay where you are and actually fill up the tank full of gas so that way you can actually go. Right? And so it's like, would you want, you want that new career. Yeah, you want that new position. But if you don't have the safety of that vehicle that's going to take you there, would you really want it to take off? You wouldn't want that plane to take off if you were missing one key thing, if you were missing an emergency fund, if you were missing all these different things. You wouldn't want it to take off. So why are you rushing and pushing for that now? Where are you rushing to? Failure? The biggest thing is when these things are happening, you need to figure out where those opportunities are at for you to hold and change that attitude. Hold your tongue, change your attitude immediately, become much more patient, and realize, well, maybe there's a reason why my success hasn't taken off. Maybe there's a reason, though. Maybe something needs to be. Let me look at my environment. Let me look at the vehicle that's going to get me there, and let me look at myself, and actually be honest with yourself. Write down the things that you notice is not up to par, or it's not proficient with the life that you're trying to get to. Right? This is something that I love talking about with people. It's like if you place yourself into a box, right? Or you draw a box on the ground and you're standing outside of it and you step into that box. I want you to imagine like a control panel in front of you. Now you got that control panel and there's 3 different notches on it that are all turned off. One notch is motivation. One notch is persistence. And one notch is ability. Now, let's say that you're standing in that box and anytime you touch the notch, anything in that box fills all the way up. You can go from 0 to 100 and you crank up the motivation knob all the way up to 100 and you're full of motivation, right? And you're ready to go take on the world, right? And you crank up persistence, right? Knowing that there's so many obstacles that are going to come, but you're going to continue to make it all the way through every single obstacle with 0 issues. And then lastly, and I don't remember what the last one was all of a sudden, but lastly, the skills that you actually have. You crank it all the way up to where you know that you can actually do everything that you're about to do and take on, and that you're ready, right? And so now you're in this box full of just readiness to go, right? Everything is ready to go. Now imagine separating yourself and stepping back outside that box. And you have yourself in that box full of all of this potential to just go and take over the world. But you grab yourself by the collar and look at yourself and say, hey, are you ready for this? I don't think you're ready. And you hold yourself back and you pull and you say, no, let's crank it from 10 to 11. Let's crank all 3 of them from 10 to 11. That's going to be enough to help you get all the way across that path, all the way from sprinting from Dallas, Texas, all the way to New York. You crank it up one more notch to 11 and it's maxed out. You're still holding on to yourself. Imagine the amount of potential and energy that is inside of your body that's in that box. And you move that control panel out of the way. And now finally, you're pumping everything in. You can do it. You got this. Here's the motivation. You're pumping everything into yourself. And now it's time for you to release and let go. How fast and how focused will you sprint to your destination? How fast and focused and determined will you sprint to your destination? But what if you had only cranked those notches up to 2 or 3? What if some of them are at 1 and some are at 10? And you don't have to balance, right? The environment isn't set. The pilot isn't set. And or the vehicle, the plane itself isn't set. We're going to talk about ways to make sure that you are set up for your plane to actually take off. Yeah. Come on, you cannot tell me that wasn't great. Cannot tell me that was not great. That was good. Charming. That is how you give an introduction to it. Oh. Oh man, I hope that you guys are doing very well. I know that the full podcast is being uploaded on a different day other than Saturdays right now, because specifically I will be switching up how I do the podcast. Instead of it being live streamed when recording it, instead I'm going to record it and do a live premiere, so that way we can still be there. You can still communicate and chat with me during this. Like, feel very free. If you're watching this right now in the premiere, I'm here. Hi guys. I'm going to fake chat. I'm going to fake type right now. And then you're going to see me message, and we're all hanging out together. That's a really cool feature about YouTube. And so I do want the chance to be able to still communicate with you guys during the podcast. It's just going to be, we're going to be watching it together. We're all watching this together. Now, if you're watching this later on as a VOD, that's all right. Still comment something down below that you got out of that intro. I'd love to hear what you realize is keeping you from actually taking off. What's keeping your flight from taking off? And then I want you to justify why it's safer for you right now. Now, I'm not saying procrastinate, right? Don't be just afraid to get on a plane because you're afraid to get on a plane. Don't say, well, my business, my success, my life isn't taking off because I'm just afraid to get on the plane. No, get on the plane, deal with some of the turbulence and go.